So my name is Colin Maclay. I run the digital initiative at the Harvard Business School, which is a new effort that very immodestly purports to be committed to understanding and shaping the digital transformation of the economy. The domain that I've worked in for the last 15 years, this sort of digital transformation, first at the intersection of technology and development, and now as sort of the digitization of the economy and basically everything across it, is a space of dynamic and constant change. It exists explicitly at the intersections of different sectors and disciplines, modes of operation, and so on. And it's a very unique set of people that can operate in this environment of constant change, where you're always learning, you're always translating, you're always trying to figure out how does one thing work with the other. And it's precisely characterized by the third space thinking values. Those talents are what allows, probably not sufficient for, but certainly necessary for success in the space that I work in. I think that as it stands now, some of these values we have traditionally taught, or we have at least valued culturally in educational context and work context, but not in a concerted way typically. They may exist and we may appreciate them and we may recognize them in one fashion or another, but we're not evaluating for them, we're not helping people to even pull them out and be aware of them. And I would argue that that's a lost opportunity. I think that first through awareness, then through sort of reflection and skill building, and finally through kind of continued evaluation and sort of changing our own behaviors, we can build out this muscle that I think each of us has in some measure of these different talents. But they don't just, we may not be so fortunate that they just build naturally, right? They work, some of us may be more inclined or less, but with cultivation, I think these skills can be taught, or at least highlighted, so that you're more aware of them. You're kind of more aware of your shortcomings, which you can either work around or you can address. You can compose a team that allows you to compensate where you perhaps have a deficit. So I do think that while it's there's a legit, a valid concern about whether we can teach them all, the question isn't, we shouldn't be stuck on that question, but rather look to say, well, how can we, what's the best we can do to teach them all? What's the best we can do to help people to cultivate them so they have these skills to draw upon? Probably a whole host of factors. The ones that I'm sort of most attuned to are globalization, this digitization, which just is the collapse of so many different contexts, and the kind of blending of approaches which were formerly siloed. So everything is just much more connected than it was, culturally connected, geographically, technologically, business to social goals. We're just seeing all these different, these areas that were formerly siloed now connecting, and indeed so much of the value that we can create is through understanding and navigating those connections. And so you're seeing people from different sciences, field of sciences work together, business work together with academia, work together with the nonprofit sector and so on, with government even. And I feel like increasingly, the people who can navigate, who can speak those different languages, can move between one context or another. They've always been in demand, but they're just in increasing demand now because we're realizing as a society that that's where so much value can be created. And I'm thrilled that Annenberg is sort of leading this charge to highlight the skills that are necessary to thrive in this new era. And although the answer is far from known now, it's absolutely a question of diving in, embarking on that journey and starting to learn, and really having undertaking a concerted effort to think more about it and to operationalize, so to do the necessary research, which we've already seen, which is great, at least to get the ball rolling, and then to be able to iterate over time and kind of see what we can learn and what can we teach and what kinds of outcomes can we achieve, to measure ourselves, right, and see, to be our kind of give tough love to the idea. Don't just say it sounds good, so let's go for it, but rather really continue to work hard to develop it and to implement it, and where it fails, to work hard to address that failure. I would have a hard, it would be kind of like your 5 children. You love them all differently. So I would have a hard, not that I have 5 children, but if I did, I would love them all equally. I would have a hard time choosing just one. I think that in different settings, in different particular tasks, you may draw on one or another, but it's really, there's a certain amount of, I think, a healthy overlap among them, right? They're kind of on a spectrum. But I would say that For me, I can't think of one period of time or one job in which I really leaned into empathy only, right, without also practicing kind of cultural awareness, or without being, intellectual curiosity. I just feel like all of them run through almost every day if we're lucky, right, and that you may use one or another more in a given moment, but in the end, I think they reinforce one another. But so that's an evasive answer. My apologies, but I can't just choose one. I'm depressed because it reminds me of how, well, no, I of course have a wonderful place, but it is nothing near as wonderful as this. I think that just looking around the facility, it's remarkable. And it has a great mixture of all the shiny new toys that we could want in a communications world, where you can get in and practice and work in teams and practice these skills, these skills, as well as it's clearly oriented around community, around recognizing each other. And I do think that, while ultimately it's about the community of the space and the culture of the community that will embody those values, this is a great set of bones upon which to build that culture.